Safest carbs for weight loss. Okay, that is our question of the day. Now, if I were to answer this question very shortly and you're in a hurry to go somewhere, then the answer to this question would be just anything in the world that qualifies as food on this planet is safe for weight loss. Meaning, there is no food on this planet that you can just simply eat, and if you just eat that, all your progress is going to be ruined with weight loss. Or there is no such food, including direct table refined sugar, that if you eat you cannot lose weight, or you are on a diet and you add some sugar in it and you cannot lose weight. Okay, there is no such food in that. So then on there, in on itself, the whole question is completely answered. All the carbohydrates on this planet Earth are completely safe, right? Safe in the sense they are not really going to hinder your weight loss progress directly. But here is the thing: there are some carbohydrates that might make the process easy, and there are some carbohydrates that might make the process tough. That is all there is to it, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about: how to make the right choices of food with carbohydrates. Right. So when we are judging basically anything in context of weight loss, anything that is good or bad, anything that is going to make the Right. So when we are judging anything in context of weight loss, there is one thing around which everything revolves around. That is adherence. Adherence means how good are you sticking to your own diet. Okay. You might choose a ketogenic diet. You might choose a low fat diet. You might choose a protein shake diet, or whatever the heck you're doing. The only thing that decides whether you're truly going to be successful is adherence. How well are you sticking to whatever you have chosen to do? Now, adherence is something, people call it the sustainability issue, right? I have made actually a very long series about sustainability that only 3 or so people have really watched. I really encourage you watching that series. But adherence is something that has many variables. There are many things that decide how well are you going to stick to a diet. But there is one core thing, the biggest dragon in the room that we have got to slay is hunger and craving. Okay, it's pretty much the same thing. Getting more hungry and getting many cravings for junk food is one of the biggest ruiners of the diet. When you are losing weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to eat less calories than you really need. Okay, you just need to eat less food than you actually need. And when we eat less food, we get more hungry, we get many cravings for junk food and things like that. And at some point or another, we just happen to give in to those cravings and just ruin our calorie deficit of the day, of the week. And because of that, we stop losing weight and then we give up after a while, right? So being in a calorie deficit comfortably is one of the biggest challenge of being on a diet and trying to lose weight. Now, one of the tools that we definitely know has worked great so far with so many people, like tens of thousands of people, is manipulating your carbohydrates. There is something to carbohydrates when you eat more carbohydrates, you sort of get more hungry and get a little more cravings. This is why people who go on a ketogenic diet or a very low carb diet really experience very reduced hunger levels and really reduced cravings for junk food and things like that. But what happens is when you go on these diets and you're already used to eating a lot of carbohydrates, after a while the adherence issue comes into the whole picture. People just cannot stick to a very low carbohydrate diet because that is just not something how we are brought up, right? At least in this country, our diet being very heavily grain based, very heavily carbohydrate based, many people cannot seem to stick to a very low carb diet. So we came up with this thing. Not we, people in general, the scientists, the nutritionists and smart people on this planet, they came up with this thing that you can eat carbohydrates and experience the reduced hunger and reduced cravings effect even with eating carbohydrates. Not as much as removing carbohydrates, but to a significant degree, if only we manage to make best choices, not best, only if we manage to make better choices with those available carbohydrates, right? So I'm going to kind of divide all kinds of carbohydrates there are on this planet into two categories. So one is going to be something that you want to eat more of and are not really going to have much effect on your hunger, on your cravings, thus are going to make you comfortable being in a calorie deficit and is going to make your weight loss process easier. And the other is something that you want to eat less of, because those are going to increase your hunger, increase your appetite for junk food and things like that, and might ruin your calorie deficit of the day and of the week, right? So when we are talking about carbohydrates, it's such a vague term because there are so many carbohydrates. I'm not good in the frame. Okay. So when we're talking about carbohydrates, there are so many carbohydrates, right? A vegetable, spinach is a carbohydrate. Okay, broccoli is a carbohydrate. Sugar is also a carbohydrate. Potatoes is also a carbohydrate. Sweet potatoes is also a carbohydrate. Coca-Cola is also a carbohydrate. Like, there are so many carbohydrates out there. Okay, there is just not one thing. Carbohydrate just means chains of sugar or just sugar. Okay, anything that has the primary unit as sugar is carbohydrate. Just saying that avoid carbohydrates or carbohydrates are bad or carbohydrates are good is like saying water is good or water is bad, because there is some water that is contaminated or infected with bacteria and infection that you don't want to drink. But on the other hand, most of the water is probably good that you get in nature, and blah 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 blah. I am sure you get the analogy that I'm trying to aim here. So carbohydrates, two kinds we're going to divide into. Okay, one that are really going to help us is something that are found in nature and we are consuming it in their natural form. Example, if I were to give you potatoes. Okay, potato is something that we get in the potato form, how you see as the vegetable, and we just cook it, we just boil it, we bake it, we put some oil and some spice, some masala in it. We are not processing it very much before consuming. Any kind of vegetable is again an example of an unprocessed, unrefined carb. We are finding it in nature as it is found, and we're eating it as it is found in nature. Okay, we are not processing it. So any carbohydrate that is not really processed or refined, we are not putting it through a machine and converting it into a totally different form, is totally doable and is no problem at all for consuming. These kinds of carbohydrates are not at all going to make you hungry, not at all going to increase your appetite for junk foods and things like that. It might increase a little bit, but for the most part, all of those increments are going to be totally controllable. The second category that we want to limit is something what we call processed or refined carbohydrate. These are all the carbohydrates that are found in nature, and then we don't consume it like they are found in nature. We first put it through a machine, we convert it into a flour, we convert it into a powder. We just basically completely change how it is found in nature. Completely, like, my vocabulary sucks. We completely basically convert its natural form into something totally other, and then we consume it. So these kinds of carbohydrates are something like rice. Okay, rice is something that is grown as brown rice. We take it, we remove the bran and all those kinds of upper layers of it, convert it into white rice, we polish it, then we cook it and we mix it with something spicy, really tangy, really punchy, then we eat it. Okay, so this is something that goes through a lot of steps before going into our mouth. So those are the kind of carbohydrates that you want to limit. You don't have to avoid them, you just kind of want to limit them so that it doesn't really increase your hunger and your appetite. Wheat is another example. Wheat is grown like in the berry form, in the grain, and we take those wheat berries, we remove the layers of it, and then we process it, convert it into a flour, convert it into a powder, make roti out of it, make bread out of it, and then we mix it with again something spicy, tangy, punchy, and then we eat it. Okay, so there are many steps of processing before it is really going into our mouth. Sugar is yet another example. Sugar is you wouldn't see a plant of sugar, a tree of sugar. Yes, sugar cane is a thing, But sugarcane, we grow sugarcane, we take those sugar canes, we remove the juice out of it. One level of processing, we take that juice and then we convert it into those crystals. Second layer of processing, and then we take that sugar and we mix it in shit and drink it or eat it. Okay, the third layer of processing. God knows if that I have got that right, might be even more levels of processing. So the more the carbohydrate is processed, the lesser you want to eat it in your everyday diet. So only because these carbohydrates are going to increase your hunger and your appetite, they're kind of unsafe for consumption, because there is a greater chance that you might go out of your diet or you might give up on your diet, because it's hard for you to be in a calorie deficit. It's hard for you to eat less food than you really need. Okay, that is all there is to it. Technically you can eat as much food, as many not as many, technically you can eat whatever you want, any kind of carbohydrate. You can drink a bottle of Coca-Cola and you can lose weight, but that's impractical, literally impossible for majority of the people, because it's downright impossible to control your hunger when you have eaten and consumed so many refined carbohydrates. So the conclusion here is to go for carbohydrates that are found in nature and we're consuming it in its natural form, and limit the carbohydrates that are found in nature but we are processing it too much before putting it into our mouth. Okay, so yeah, I hope I have cleared the confusion with carbohydrates. If you have liked it, if your confusion is cleared, hit that like button there. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I am sure you want to lose weight, you want to get healthy, and you want to live a long life. That is exactly what we talk about on this channel: health, weight loss, longevity. That is it for this video. I'll see you on the next video.